everyone. Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
This is where we, sift through some really interesting sources to pull out those insights you can actually use.
Yeah, find the practical stuff.
Exactly. And today we're diving into something pretty heavy, honestly, but so important. It's a topic that echoes through history and, let's face it, feels relevant right now. You sent us the source material, The Uncrushable Soul, a guide to resisting oppression. And wow, it's this powerful set of ideas about how people don't just survive oppression, but actually defy it, keep their integrity, reclaim their freedom.
It's a really compelling framework.
It is. And the core idea grabs you right away.
Right.
Oppression isn't always loud. It's not always boots marching.
Right. Sometimes it's much quieter.
Yeah, it whispers. In policy, maybe? Or it shouts in silence, or it's just there in the everyday choices we make, or that are made for us.
And the goal, according to these sources, is always the same deep down.
To crush the soul, but quietly, without leaving obvious marks.
That's the insidious part, isn't it? It doesn't need to be overt violence. That whisper can be just as suffocating.
And recognizing that whisper, well, the sources say that's the very first act of defiance.
It's a profound starting point. And what's amazing, really, is that despite this quiet pressure, you look across history, across cultures, people have survived.
They haven't just survived, they've pushed back.
Exactly. They've resisted. They've reshaped things. They've even redefined what freedom means to them. That resilience is, well, it's everywhere once you look for it.
So that's our mission for this deep dive, right? To explore that whole journey. Surviving oppression, yes, but also resisting it. We're going to look at the strategies, some of which are kind of hidden in plain sight in these sources, and the mindset you need to stay whole when everything feels like it's trying to break you apart.
Yeah, there are some real aha moments in here, I think, and things you can actually apply.
Definitely. So let's start with that first big idea. Before survival comes awareness. The sources are clear. Oppression thrives in confusion.
Makes sense. If you don't see the bars, how do you even know you're in a cage?
Right. So how do we recognize it if it's not always obvious? If it's not screaming at us? What are those signs, those whispers?
Well, the sources lay out some pretty clear indicators, things you might feel before you can even name them.
Like what?
Like constantly feeling you have to shrink yourself, make yourself smaller, less authentic, just to fit in or be accepted.
Yeah, I think many people can relate to that feeling.
Or noticing that your access to things, resources, rights, even just having your voice heard, is limited simply because of who you are, your identity.
Okay.
Another big one is when speaking your truth just feels dangerous or maybe pointless, like shouting into the wind.
That sense of futility.
Yeah. And this one is really interesting. The source material says your body might feel completely exhausted, just drained, but your soul somehow feels louder.
Wow. That exhaustion but defiance paradox. Your body's worn out, but something inside is still fighting, still knows something's wrong.
Exactly. It's that inner knowing, that fire.
That hits hard. So once you start recognizing these signs, maybe feeling them, what's next? The guide gives a first step, right?
Yes. Survival step 1, as the sources call it, is simple but crucial. Name it.
Just name it.
Yeah. Put a name to the system that's trying to suppress you. Whether it's, a government policy, a toxic boss, a cultural pressure, maybe even dynamics in your own family.
So identifying it clearly.
The sources explicitly call that the first act of defiance. Just dragging it into the light, giving it a name, takes away some of its amorphous power.
Okay, so we've named the cage. We see it. But then how do you stop it from getting inside your head?
Yes. This is where the sources get really deep, I think.
They argue the mind is kind of the last border, right? The final place they try to control?
Precisely. The insight is really profound. History shows again and again, no matter how much they lock up your body, control your money, try to erase your history, if they can't colonize your thoughts, you're still fundamentally free inside.
That's, mental liberation. That's powerful.
It's the ultimate internal fortress. They might control the external circumstances, but your inner narrative, how you see yourself in the world, that's territory they can't just take. Not without your sort of internal permission.
So how do we guard that? How do you protect that inner space? The sources offer actual tools, don't they?
They do. Really practical tools for mental liberation. And they're things anyone can try to do.
Right.
First, read dangerous books. Things like Autobiographies of people who survived and resisted, literature that's been banned, history told from the perspective of the oppressed, not the oppressors.
Why dangerous?
Because they offer different narratives. They show other realities are possible. They prove resilience exists. It helps you mentally decolonize your own thinking, break free from the dominant story.
Got it. Okay, what else?
Second, journal your truth. Create a space, even just for yourself, where your inner voice gets to speak fully. No censorship. You're the only authority in that journal.
A private space for honesty.
Exactly. And third, this one's crucial. Limit the oppressor's language. Actively refuse to repeat their narratives about you or your group.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure. The sources explicitly say things like, don't call poverty your fault if the system is designed against you. Don't label silence as peace if it's enforced silence.
So it's about refusing to internalize their framing, their lies.
Yes. Don't adopt the language they use to diminish you or justify the oppression.
And all these tools, they lead to the next step.
Right. Survival step 2. Reclaim mental sovereignty. The core idea is simple. Even in chains, your thoughts belong to you. Guard them with your life.
Be the ruler of your own mind.
That's a good way to put it. Protect that inner narrative fiercely. You decide who you are, what you believe, what your history means.
Okay, so we've talked about awareness, naming it, protecting the mind. But the sources are really clear. This isn't something you do alone, is it?
Not at all. That's a huge emphasis. Survival is not a solo act. Oppression often works by isolating people.
So community is the antidote.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating. The sources point to historical examples. Think about the Underground Railroad, a secret network, or resistance circles during apartheid in South Africa. These movements thrived on hidden communities, on mutual support.
Because being connected breaks that isolation tactic.
Precisely. It counters it directly, shows the power of collective strength, shared risk, shared hope.
So for listeners today, what might that look like? Finding your tribe, so to speak?
It can take many forms. Maybe it's a private group chat where you share real news, unfiltered information, especially if mainstream sources feel compromised, a shared reality check.
Okay.
Or it could be a spiritual group, or just an emotional support circle, a place to detox from those daily microaggressions, to process things safely.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or honestly, sometimes it's just one trusted friend, someone who sees you, who reminds you of your worth when the world is trying to gaslight you or make you doubt yourself.
Someone who anchors you back to your own truth.
Exactly. Which leads us to survival step 3. Find or build a resistance family.
A resistance family. I like that term.
It's powerful, isn't it?
Yep.
The guide uses this great analogy. One candle can light another. Together, many candles become a wildfire.
Oh, nice.
It's not just about numbers, but that exponential energy. Hope spreads. Strength builds on strength when people connect like that.
Okay, so community is vital, building that wildfire. But sometimes, maybe direct confrontation isn't possible. Or wise.
Right, and the sources tackle this too. It introduces a really interesting, maybe counterintuitive strategy.
Which is?
Master the art of strategic silence.
Strategic silence.
Okay, that sounds like surrender. How is silence resistance?
That's the key distinction the sources make. It's not necessarily surrender. It's about wisdom, not submission.
Explain that a bit more.
The guide says things like, silence is not always surrender. Disguise is not always weakness. Waiting is not always cowardice.
Okay.
It's about knowing when to speak out and when it's smarter, safer, or more strategic to observe, to gather strength, to protect yourself or your plans.
So it's a conscious choice, not just being passive. Exactly.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that Paul Laurence Dunbar line, the sources quote, "We wear the mask that grins and lies."
Ah, yeah. Wearing the mask.
Sometimes survival, the sources argue, means you have to smile on the outside while you're planning, resisting, holding on to your freedom on the inside.
It's like protective camouflage. Navigating a dangerous environment without revealing your true self or your intentions until the right moment.
It's a form of deep internal rebellion, even if it looks compliant on the surface.
But that raises a really tough question for people, doesn't it? How do you know? How do you know when to speak and when to wear the mask?
It's a constant calculation, and the sources acknowledge that. Survival Step 4 offers guidance. Speak when it's safe and effective. Scream when it really matters, when the cost of silence is too high. Stay silent when you need to protect yourself or bide your time. But the key is,
What?
never stop thinking freely. The outer action might adapt, but the inner freedom, the mental sovereignty we talked about, that has to remain constant.
So it's a dynamic dance, adapting outwardly while staying true inwardly.
Very much so. A nuanced dance between how you present to the world and what you hold on to inside.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've covered awareness, mind, community, strategic silence. What about more active resistance? Getting creative.
Yes, the sources definitely get into that. Oppression tries to lock doors, limit options, right?
Sure. Close off paths.
But the point here is that doors aren't the only way out. People find windows, they find cracks,
Yeah.
or they just build a whole new path. Ingenuity and resistance.
I like that. Innovation. What are some examples the sources give?
They break it down into a few areas.
Huh?
For economic survival, you see things like side hustles, maybe underground economies, community savings pools, ways to get around restrictive systems.
Working around the official rule.
Exactly. Then there's political resistance. That could be voting where possible, protesting where it's allowed, or even whistleblowing if it can be done safely and make a difference, using the levers that exist.
Okay.
And then there's cultural rebellion, which is fascinating. Art, music, even memes today, fashion.
Things that slip past the censors.
Yeah. Creative languages that express truth, build solidarity, keep identity alive, even when direct speech is shut down.
That's really powerful. Using creativity as a weapon.
Definitely. So the takeaway for us, for you listening, is to think, where can I bend the existing system to my advantage? Find those leverage points. And where is the system just broken or rigged? Where do I need to maybe ignore it and build something new? A new pathway, a new network, a new way of doing things.
So it's about being adaptable, being creative, both working the system and working around it.
Precisely. And that brings us to the final step, survival step 5. Bend the system to your advantage and build new ones where it fails.
Bend it and build.
Yeah, it connects to that bigger picture of constantly adapting, using ingenuity, making sure your path towards freedom, whatever that looks like for you, is always evolving, always finding a way forward.
Wow, okay. What a journey through these ideas in the uncrushable soul.
That covers a lot of ground.
It really does, from just seeing the cage, that awareness, to naming it, protecting your mind, building community, using silence strategically, and finally that ingenuity, bending and building.
5 really powerful steps.
It feels like this deep dive really brought out these strategies, hidden in plain sight maybe, for how to keep your integrity, yourself together when there's so much pressure trying to pull you apart.
Absolutely. And I think the core message that comes through so strongly is about agency.
Agency.
That
Yeah.
even in really difficult, oppressive situations, individuals still have choices. They still have capacity to resist, to adapt, to remain whole inside. It's a powerful testament to the human spirit, really.
It really is. Indomitable, as the title suggests. So as we wrap up, maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Yeah.
Considering everything we've talked about today, that idea of the mask, the strategic silence, where in your own life might wearing a mask sometimes be a necessary tool for protecting your inner freedom rather than an act of surrender.
That's a challenging question.
It is. Or thinking about community. What new underground network, maybe it's digital, maybe it's a couple of trusted friends, could you cultivate right now to support your own sense of wholeness, your own truth against whatever pressures you might be facing?
Good questions to ponder.
Definitely something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. It was a lot to unpack, but incredibly valuable, I think.
Agreed. Thanks for the great conversation.
Until next time.